Robert Feeney, Knowledge as a Service. I'm the founder and also the creator of Ringorang, which is the habit formation software. We're going to use a methodology that's under the hood of Ringorang that we call the ASK methodology that we took through clinical trials. It's attitudes, skills, and knowledge. ASK is the ASK methodology. And we're going to apply this to solve a problem. And this is a common and in some ways confounding problem that exists across many industries, arguably all industries, and it has to do with change management. So in 30 minutes, we're going to solve this problem, and I brought into this workshop, we'll call it, Nena Shimp, who is what I like to think of as a change management guru or wizard or pixie, however it is you'd like to be thought of. But Nena has Change Accelerators is the name of her consultancy, and we've had the pleasure of being able to work with each other for many years. Nena, maybe you could give a sense to those who are listening and watching here, the kinds of organizations you bring your change management process into.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically I work with across industry. So I'm industry agnostic. Whatever industry has people is where I like to play. In Fortune 500, for the most part, I find I'm more satisfied with the more challenging barriers that leaders have to driving successful transformation. And so that's typically Fortune 500, but also mid-market. And I like to play with, mergers and acquisition challenges, with divestitures, with large, complex systems implementations, culture change, new leader alignment, anything that has the potential to shake up an organization and is a priority for that organization to realize new business results. So that's where I like to play.
And you've seen probably some of the most consequential changes there are. Like, for example, you and I have been in front of a change from the CEO level down, where they're trying to transform the culture of a global organization. What are other kinds of changes that you've had to face?
So, like I said, mergers and acquisitions, where you're trying to determine which parts of the culture of one do you want to keep and what do you want to let go, and how do you blend those together? Those are pretty complex and a lot of emotions involved in those. But for the most part, it's between culture transformation and large systems implementations that disrupt the flow of work. And reorgs, I like reorgs. Anything that's big and scary. That's where.
All right. Well, what we're going to do then is distinguish the big monster problem. Like, if you had to categorize one big problem to solve across all of these, we're going to distinguish that as a goal, and then we're going to break it down through a process that I'm going to facilitate with you, Nena. That distinguishes the attitudes, the skills, and the knowledge, the balance of which is needed in the form of what we call habits. And it even breaks it down all the way to actions you need people to take and the obstacles in the way of those actions. And once you've got that, it's like you have this hierarchical map that gives you a very clear picture of what steps have to be taken, what actions do people actually have to take, what barriers have to be removed to get to that goal. And we're going to do it all here within this half hour. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Ta-da. Okay. I'm going to share my screen with you, and then we're going to go through first distinguishing that big monster hairy goal, right?
Yeah.
So first, tell me that you can see my screen.
I can see it.
Okay, great. So what you're looking at here is a custom GPT that has the brain within it that we use, that represents what we do with the Ask methodology in Ringorang. And it gives us a really simple way for us to go through this exercise. So it's built on OpenAI, but it's in a private instance. So it's not going back and feeding the model. It is, however, going to help us facilitate this process. So I'm going to start by asking it a few questions, or rather I'm going to start by answering a few questions that it has for us. We'll say, Nena Shimp
Good. Big problem is good.
All right, we'll say, who is the audience? So the audience that we're solving for, and remember, you want to think big picture. This would be like, what is the audience look that's common across all customers?
I mean, it's the leadership team.
What change are they resisting or struggling with?
Lack of alignment around the components of a transformation with a big investment, right? There's always you have to have big dollars assigned to these. There's skin in the game.
Mm-hmm. And what business result has to be improved?
So there is a high cost of misalignment at the top, right? And so let's see, how do I want to say this? You can put in here, I see lack of leadership alignment as a readiness signal. Misalignment not addressed early means you have lowered the ceiling for what any transformation can deliver. And to tie this to what you're going to do, alignment is observable, right? It's not just a document they sign.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to solve for that.
How about if you were to put a time frame around how long it would take you typically to solve this problem for an organization, what would be an average time?
With a healthy leadership team, one workshop.
Well, one workshop maybe to distinguish the problem, but how long does it take to actually get the whole problem solved for the company?
Oh, you can't know. The workshop is after we've distinguished the problem, right? So you take the assessment. This is this model that I've built.
Yep.
That highlights the problem.
Yep.
Then when the leadership team is willing to affirm that they have a gap and it's a risk and potentially a costly risk,
Mm-hmm.
one workshop can get them all on the same page. Now, does that mean they won't have some slips, right? You still have to continue to inspect what you expect. They're going to agree to certain ways of behaving. They're going to make decisions in this workshop to
Yep.
close that readiness or that alignment gap. But that doesn't mean they walk out of the room. This is where you come in, always behaving in the way they need to support that alignment. It takes work, it takes repetition,
Sure.
and you have to keep checking in. But I can get them on the same page in one workshop.
Very good. So let's say that they are all on the same page in that first workshop, in that workshop you've delivered. On average, is it the kind of thing that you can then implement the change across their organization within a week, a month, a year? Is there kind of an
Uh,
average?
yeah, no, so let's say, so we've done this really targeting an investment, one transformation initiative, right? And so what I would do at that point is teach them to cascade what they agreed upon in the way they behave, in the way they communicate, in how they show up, how often they show up throughout this investment. Because
Mm-hmm.
the whole goal of this alignment is to realize the return on their investment, right?
Okay.
And so sometimes they're 6 months, 9 months, a couple years long, but through to the results, through to realizing those sustained business benefits.
So if we say 1 year, that might be somewhere as an average because it could be
That's the
six
fine
months,
average.
could be 2 years.
Yeah, that's
All
the
right.
fine average.
So
But
we'll say one.
and
Uh-huh.
ideally, and you like to see this, you can say 1 year. Ideally, you now have led them through an experience that they're going to understand they got to do this the next time they sign the check for a big investment, right? They
Right.
shouldn't need me. And through behavior change, in through experiencing the success of this shift and how they approach this transformation is going to be what makes it sticky.
Very good.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this over and over and over and over again. I want to do it once for every company
Yeah.
and it's solved.
All right. So then if the goal that you're trying to hit here is hit, we say here in this exercise that you've solved the problem. So take a look at this draft and see if it works. If not, let's adjust it. The goal is align the leadership team around the core components of a major transformation. So the execution ceiling rises, the limit rises, and costly misalignment is eliminated.
Yes. So let's talk really quick. I don't know if we need to spell this out, but what do we mean by core components? Because that extends to their role in it, right? It's not just the mechanics of the change, but it's in their role in bringing about the change. But that's what core component. That's included in what I mean by core components.
Okay, very good. How about as a revision, the goal is align the leadership team around their specific roles in the transformation so execution capacity rises and the cost of misalignment drops.
That's good.
Beautiful. Next, what we're going to do is distinguish a result. Now, there are multiple results that you could have to get this goal met. And the result means that it's objective. It's something that happens in the organization. You can measure it. You can see it.
Yeah.
It's not conceptual.
Right.
So we're going to focus on one result, and I like to think of it as a linchpin result, because if this result is achieved, then other results can follow to get your goal met. So sorry?
Are you saying we can only have one result or?
We're only going to focus on one result in this session.
Okay.
That'll be the linchpin result. I'm going to actually pause here because I got to go grab a keyboard. I've been clacking away on this keyboard and it's bouncing the screen around. I've got
Okay.
a Bluetooth keyboard here. Okay.
So I'm struggling a little bit because I'm looking at those 4 questions we talked about earlier. I can combine one, but I think 2 of them are so key.
So here are 3 results. You may want to combine them into one or some of them into one.
Okay.
First, leaders can clearly state their individual role in the transformation and how it differs from others. Second, leaders publicly demonstrate aligned decisions and messages about the transformation. And then the third one is leadership misalignment is surfaced and it's resolved early before it impacts execution.
Okay. What we can do with your first one, because remember how I talked earlier about, do you agree on what you're willing to sacrifice? So I think that result 1, we could add in there their individual role, how it differs from others, and what they're willing to sacrifice. Can we add that, or is that too much?
Okay, say it again.
If you read that, we can take result 1 and just add at the end and what they're willing to sacrifice. So this is where other priorities come up all the time. You sign a check for a transformation, everyone thinks, okay, this is the number 1 priority. And the next week, the board's got something else that they need you to focus on. So where does your behavior show that this continues to be a priority? What are you willing to sacrifice? I think you can add that to result 1 as part of their role.
Very good. So let's see if this works for you.
Okay.
Leaders can clearly state their individual role in the transformation, how it differs from others, and what they are willing to sacrifice to make it succeed.
Yep.
So if that result is achieved, and all the leaders can say, yeah, this is achieved, will that be a linchpin to achieving the goal?
Yes, because they're going to make trade-offs.
And that would make a big difference in the organization.
It would make a big difference. The other one though, can you scroll up?
Uh-huh.
I know you said you only want to focus. If you look at two, you could add if you, I know we're only doing one. But the other thing I talked about was they have to agree on what problem they're trying to solve and what success looks like. I feel like you could fit that into result number two. What problem are they trying to solve and what does success look like? They have to agree on that. And they typically don't because they're looking at that problem from their own lens, right? From their own list of priorities, from their own what's keeping them awake at night, from their own how does my bonus get paid perspective. That's what drives people when they talk about these big investments if they haven't done the work to get on the same page.
Got it. Okay, so the result is now a bullet list. Let me see if this works. Leaders can clearly state the shared problem that the transformation is solving, what success looks like, their specific role and how it differs from others, and what they're willing to sacrifice to make it succeed.
I can accept that.
Bam. Would that make a huge difference in the organization?
A
Anyone
huge
who can
difference in the organization.
it
Yeah.
would, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
To get that result, you're going to have changes in behavior.
Yes.
And certainly with these leaders, and there we say that those are habits that have to be formed because otherwise you can get people to say that they agree on these things. They can say that they're aligned when in fact there could be something else in the background going on, right?
Yep.
So
And something else will show up that's going to throw them off. So they need these habits to help them hold the line, stay the course.
very good. Well, we found that a balance of the habits that we distinguish and ask are necessary to take on a new behavior. The balance is attitudes, skill, and knowledge habits. The attitude habits we actually found have been the most important. When we first took this through randomized controlled trials, we found that the attitude is tantamount to a belief. It's what do I believe is so. You can give people all the skills, all the knowledge, throw all the facts you want at people. It doesn't matter. What we operate on is our attitude because that's what forms our stories about things. And our stories, we say, are true. So
Yep.
let's take a look at these habits. We're going to start with an attitude habit. Leaders choose enterprise first thinking over functional self-protection when defining the transformation.
Perfect.
Now let's look at a skill habit. Leaders articulate their role, their decision rights, and trade-offs in clear, concrete language.
Yep. Consistently. Can you add that word?
Yes.
Because to me, consistency is the most important leadership trait, whether you're consistently evil, right? Or you're consistently empathetic. Either way, when your employees know what to expect, they know how to fit in with that. And so the word consistency is important.
So habit 2 now reads, this is the skill habit. Leaders consistently articulate their role, decision rights, and trade-offs in clear, concrete language.
Yes.
Great. And now there's a knowledge habit that I'll propose here. Leaders know and can state the agreed upon transformation problem and measurable definition of success.
Measurable is key.
Isn't it?
Yep.
So if those 3 habits are now in place with the leaders of your client organization, will they get that result?
They will be aligned and can lead, and their execution ceiling for what this transformation can deliver just rose exponentially.
Fantastic. Now, of these bullets that we distinguished in the result, if they have those habits formed, will the shared problem of the transformation, the shared problem the transformation is solving will be clearly stated and aligned? Okay. What success looked like, they'll be aligned on that. Their specific role and how it differs from others. Yes.
Yep.
And what they're willing to sacrifice to make that succeed, that will be clear.
That will be clear.
Dynamite. All right. So with those 3 habits now distinguished, we're going to get right down into topics. What topics have to be covered so that those habits will get formed. So going into the attitude habit, which we've said is really the linchpin of behaviors to get to the result. First topic proposed, recognizing functional bias in transformation discussions. Does that work?
Yes.
Defining the enterprise level problem that the transformation is solving.
Yes.
Identifying cross-functional trade-offs that are required for enterprise success.
Yes.
Separating personal risk from enterprise risk in decision making.
It's key. Yes.
Is there anything that's missing there that has to be there to get this attitude habit formed?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Dynamite.
Yeah,
Then
those are good.
then we're on our way. So then we're going to look at the next habit. You see what we're doing now is we're building a map of what has to get covered to get these behaviors changed so that you can have a result. On this first topic, recognizing functional bias in transformation discussions. Here is what we call an AO pair. That stands for action and obstacle. This is distinguishing what action does a human being have to take on this habit. You got to take actions. You got to take
Yes.
actions over and over again. And then obstacle relates to what's in the way. And usually it's a mental obstacle. Once in a rare while, it might actually be circumstantial. But most of the time, it's something that the voice in your head is saying that stops you from taking the action.
Right.
So this first one is, and this is again under the topic of recognizing functional bias in transformation discussions. First is action is in a leadership meeting, state one way that your function benefits from the current model.
So this is the current model, meaning the current way of working before the transformation.
Yeah, well, I guess
That's
take a
good.
look at it that way.
Yeah,
And
I think that's fine because one of the hard challenges in change is the emotional connection to the way we do it today. And so acknowledging that we benefit from the way we do it today is the first step in saying, but, right, what are the opportunities we're creating for the organization? The best advice anyone ever gave me was whenever you make decisions that are best for the organization, you're going to be fine.
yeah,
And so I think this is, I'm imagining, this is how I'm reading it anyway, that this is setting you up to make that step with your team, right?
that's right.
Okay,
Exactly. And then the obstacle in the way, again, this is like voice in your head. If I say that, it weakens my position.
right. I can see that. Hmm.
See it that way. Now, would you say that that's a common obstacle if this is what you're asking people to do?
Sure. Because, leaders think they always have to be the champion of the change. And here they're being a little bit vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And leaders struggle with vulnerability. So I think this is good.
Okay, very good. So the next pairing, take this action, ask, how does this decision impact the enterprise beyond our function?
See, I hadn't even read it, but that's exactly what that first question set him up to have her, this
Yeah.
conversation with his team to help them see the art of the possible, right?
Right. And that's outside of what they normally do.
Yep.
So here what you're dealing with as an obstacle is, my job is to defend my area. That's
Mhm.
what I'm paid to do.
Well, and that's what his team is paid to deliver on. So he's talking to an audience of employees who have been following this path. They've been rewarded for this current way of working. They've monetarily or whatever, they've gotten recognition, maybe promotions. And now he's saying, go with me on this journey here. We got to let some of this go, right?
Yep.
For the betterment of the organization.
Fantastic. All right. So it seems like we're doing a really effective job at training the AI here to know exactly what it is you need in this map because there's been very little changes so far.
Right.
All right. So what I'm going to do is now move on to the third and final action obstacle here.
Okay.
The action is name one assumption that you're making from your functional lens.
That's key. If you can't challenge assumptions in a safe way, and by the leader modeling it, he's creating a safe environment for everyone to challenge assumptions, then you won't you won't reach that future state because you're going to hold on to those assumptions, right? So he's
Right.
he's taking these steps to remove common barriers to transformation. This is very good.
And the obstacle that would have him not do that, not take this action is my perspective is objective. I'm
Right,
not biased, right?
right. My assumption is correct.
That's right. And I have to defend it, as we were
Yes,
saying in the other one, right?
yes.
All right. So this is clearly the AI is now understanding what it is that you need. So the next move to make, and this is kind of like a writ large move to make,
Okay.
um, I'm going to say complete the entire goal design. And this is on the idea that we already know what the goal is that we have to hit. What's the one result we're going to hit? And then what are the habits that have to be formed, attitude, skill, and knowledge habits by these leaders to get them aligned? What are those topics we have to cover? And then what specific actions do we need the leaders to take? Getting past their mental obstacles to take those actions so that a repetition practice can get started. They form habits, they change behaviors, they deliver the result, and now you have the goal met. Now, we just in 15 minutes basically got down to that. And what I'm going to show you just in a scroll here is there's your goal. Align the leadership team around their specific roles in the transformation. So execution capacity rises, the cost of misalignment drops. To get that, you've got this result that we distinguished. You have these habits that have to be adopted. You've got these topics and the action obstacle pairs that are connected to it.
Yep.
And then you've got the second habit that we've now distinguished. So the AI you've now trained to understand the results, the habits, the problem you're really trying to solve. And it's got newly distinguished topics and action obstacles for you. And now it gets down into the third habit. You see how robust this is,
Yeah.
right?
Now I'm making some of these as I go. These are just good.
So this is a map, and it may seem like a lot when you think about it. So here's what I'm bringing us to completion on. To get this delivered in a real life scenario, you go into one of these organizations that needs the change. This is an awful lot. Like, how are you going to get this across to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we built Ringorang was because we realized how critical delivery is. When you distinguished for me before we started recording here, you said, hey, you know, there's that really popular statistic out there about how 70% of change efforts fail. But that's not a complete sentence, is it? What's the whole statistic?
70% of change efforts fail to achieve sustained business results.
Sustained business results.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you can get to sustained business results is you can't just have agreement on alignment in the beginning. You actually have to have that cascade through actions that get taken all through the business. So we use Ringorang as a way of doing that, where you can repeatedly coach people in all different job roles to make sure that the change sticks over the course of that year that you were saying, right?
Because in those sustained results don't come at go live, where a lot of executives turn and walk away. We hit a milestone, we flip the switch, we went live. To me, that's when the beginning of their work starts, to hold the line and realize those business results. And a lot of times they walk away and go on to the next transformation.
Yeah, that's dynamite. Well, could you use this map?
Oh, sure.
I'm going to send it to you.
Okay, absolutely.
All right, go forth and solve this problem now. This is
like
fantastic.
The Harry Potter wand.
Yeah, well, exactly. But you know, that's one of it's so good that we've been able to distinguish just through this hierarchy. It really is a straightforward process, but it can seem overwhelming and complex if you think, how am I going to do this? Once you've got the map, it's just a matter of navigating.
Yep.
Thanks for helping us distinguish solving a huge problem at 30. All right. Thank you, Nena.
All right.
I think the way we want to finish this is I'm trying to see if I missed anything, and then we can edit that.
You want me to have some snappy closing line? I feel like I'm on TV and I'm frozen.
All else delivering, it's iterating. Oh, yeah. You know what? That's one other thing I'll distinguish here too is the importance of iterating on this. Do you have anything to say about that? So once you're actually implementing a change, you've got to look at what's working and not working. You have to iterate on it.
Well,
Having,
so what the Navy calls that, you have to inspect what you expect. So it's one thing to have a workshop and let's all agree, and we're going to talk about these new habits and these new skills and this new knowledge. But it doesn't happen on its own, right? It takes work and it takes that leadership team to commit to holding each other accountable. And honestly, in the workshop, we talk about what does that look like, right? Because it's one thing again to say, oh, sure, we'll hold each other accountable, but in what way? What does that look like? What's the cadence of it? How are you going to check in with each other? How are you going to handle it if you see Bob over here going rogue and defending his fiefdom over, the benefits of the organization with this investment? So that has to be worked out as well. And then this cadence they agree to of checking in, someone's got to monitor it.
I love that you said that. I have what's become my life and career's work here is is that iteration process. It's being able to manage expectations as you go because things are going to shift and change. So
Yes.
there has to be some sort of real-time data loop that you're staying in touch with, whether in person or virtually if you're dealing with a global company, right?
Mhm.
And that's what I have found was missing. That's actually what brought Ringarang into existence was because there's got to be a way to drive a continuum in
Right.
people learning, shifting what they do, and you got to manage and monitor as you go.
Right. And it can be as simple as checking in and saying, what's working and what's not working.
Yeah.
And then someone might surface, well, so and so did such and such. Well, why did that happen? What was the basis of that? And maybe that was legitimate. And do we need to adjust any of the commitments that we made? And it just again, it takes work. That's another level of commitment um, that leaders need to make early in the change. Early in the change.
Well,
And then
the leaders you work with are really lucky to have you because if they didn't, then they'd be busy stuck in their own minds about it, right?
yeah, they would.
Yeah. So bless you for what you do. Thank you, Nina. Take
Thanks,
take
Rob.
the goal design, the map here, and go forth and wreck and retie things.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. We'll now we'll get that recorded. It'll be kind of fun. I'll probably spend a lot of time in the editing myself, so I know how we're going to do this as a format. I'll
Yeah.
send you what we've got and see what you think about it.
Okay. Did that feel like that worked for you though? I mean,
It did, yeah. I think
okay.
so. I think it's gonna be good. Then there's some things that we'll do around what we show versus where we show us talking that'll help us get through this really efficiently. And we actually did. We got through it in 30 minutes. I think even less than 30 minutes on the recording. So it was brilliant.
Dude, if you're gonna give me a deadline,
You,
I'm gonna beat it.
I may get spoiled working with you because you move so fast on this stuff. It's great.
Yeah. No, that was really good. I appreciate it. Let me know what else you need. If we need a redo, I'm fine. That's a fun topic.
It
Um,
is. It's a great one. So if you've got this recorded, do you think there's something you might be able to do with it? Like if you have clips from it for your own
yeah,
promotion?
maybe I'll have to see. And I would let Bloom Social figure that out for me.
Yeah.
But let me, I know you didn't answer this. I have an example here with Claire's really quick. So, I've been working with them on CX transformation. I finally had it last week and I
Uh-huh.
told the leadership team of CX, not the executive leadership team. I said, we have been trying to transform something the leadership itself cannot define because we keep pushing this, we're going to do CX culture change to the ELT and they want us to keep changing the deck or change the colors or I don't understand what you're saying, blah, blah. And it's not us. I finally told the head of CX, it's them. And we need to have this alignment workshop so we can codify what it is they funded or they think they funded, right? What is their role in it and how is it going to be governed? And that's what we just talked about, that's what comes to mind. So think about a leadership team that says, oh, we're going to come out with this new set of values and new behaviors that go with the values, and we're going to put it on posters and we're going to put it everywhere. Yay, we're done. No. Why? Why is customer centricity one of your core values? What problem were you trying to solve? Those same questions that I was saying to you before we recorded. Why is that? And what does it look like to you? And what is your commitment to it? And what have you changed because this value is so important to you that it's now one of the five? I never get to these guys, Robert, to have this conversation. I'm at the tail end where someone says, "Oh no, they want a different slide for that." I finally said, "I'm done. I'm not making any more slide changes. I'm done. I'm done." until they figure out what it is they want, because
Mhm.
that's why they keep pushing back on us. They don't know.
Yeah.
That's why it's so costly. They've
Yeah.
been paying me a year now, Robert, to
Yeah.
lead a CX culture change, and I haven't been able to do it because they don't know what that means.
Mm.
That's
And you,
costly.
and you just haven't been able to get them all into a single powwow?
No, and I said this to them. You guys act like we've got to tiptoe around the leaders because they're the executive leadership team. That's not what they're paid for. They expect us to show up and say, this isn't working, and here's what we need to do.
Hmm.
No, we can't take their time. They would never give us an hour for a workshop. Well, then it's not
Yeah.
a core frickin' value. Sorry.
Isn't that something? Yeah, no, I'm seriously, that we have that kind of conversation here in my small company. You know, it's like if this is really that important, then Robert, you can find the time.
Right. It's true. Or tell me it's not. I'm fine either way.
Right.
But
Exactly.
straddling the fence is so painful for employees. Anyways. All right. Well, you can follow the map and fix your own company then.
Exactly. Right.
All
Good
right.
point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Let me know what you need.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nina. I'll get this
Okay.
to you shortly.
All right. See ya.
As you can see, big problems don't have to be complicated. Our process breaks them down all the way to individual actions. I invite you to consider having the Ringorang team solve a big problem for you and then deliver coaching to your people as nano learning, bite-sized pocket coaching to ensure your people turn their learning into habits. Book a demo with us now. We'll talk it through.